Well, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, good afternoon. Once again, my name is Martin Švec. I'm from the Masaryk University, and at the very beginning, I would like to say that I'm very grateful for having this wonderful opportunity. It's always an honor to speak at the conferences of the Central European Academy, and it's always a pleasure to be in Budapest. So thank you very much for having me. This is the topic of my presentation: the EU's energy policy from the perspective of a Central Eastern European country, the Czech Republic. When I was invited to this conference, I did find the topic quite challenging, and let me tell you a few reasons why. But before, I was thinking that it would be absolutely appropriate to start with a picture from 1992 when the Maastricht Treaty was officially signed. It did take place on the 7th February in 1992 in Maastricht. And now I would like to tell you why I did find it quite challenging. I would love to tell you that I do remember the signing ceremony in Maastricht, and I would love to provide you with details in which bar in Maastricht we were celebrating the signature and in which bar we did end up. However, at that time I was 3 years old. So this is the first obstacle I realized and found quite challenging when it comes to this conference. The second obstacle relates to the perspective from the Czech Republic's perspective. Let me tell you that in 1992, the Czech Republic did not exist yet. At the time, there was only Czechoslovakia, and me and my parents, we were dreaming about member countries of the energy community since 1993, the European Union. And the third aspect which made my presentation quite challenging, or the preparation, is the fact that the energy chapter was finally withdrawn since no political consensus had been reached from the Maastricht Treaty. And for these three reasons, I found appropriate to look at the Maastricht as an era, or in the rest of my presentation, I'm going to refer to Maastricht, I'm going to view the Maastricht as early 90s, and I'm going to view, I would like to take a much broader perspective of the development of the European energy law from early 90s until 2023, because I found quite fascinating that no one, especially during the Maastricht conference, would foresee depth of the European energy and climate regulation in 2023, or the role of the European Union in the energy crisis in 2023. And it's very remarkable. For me, Maastricht mainly serves as a reminder of how old I am, but I would like to encourage you to view Maastricht as a very specific energy landscape in early 90s, and if you and think about what the European community was able to achieve in a relatively short time period. I would like to divide my presentation because the 2023 European energy law is extremely complex, and 20 minutes would not be enough. The whole day would not be enough. So I've divided to be focused on three main elements of the European energy policy, or development of the European energy law since early 90s, since this Maastricht era until today, and I would like to tell you which of these aspects, how these aspects of the European energy law contributed to the energy policy in the Czech Republic, and to what extent the Czech Republic did benefit from being a contracting member country of the European Union. Let me begin with energy market liberalization. As you can see, and this is something very unthinkable for many, even in the European Union countries. In early 90s, the only country in the European Union having some experience with market liberalization was the UK, and the European Commission was thinking about how worth it would be to open markets to competition. I wouldn't say that market liberalization did have only positive impact. As everything, there are some pro and cons. Especially now, one would say that having one national champion, one huge national company, being in charge of the whole energy value chain since from extraction until energy supply may be worthy in the time of energy crisis. But I would like to assure you that benefits prevail over negative implications of this energy market liberalization, so far from the Czech Republic perspective. So in early 90s, EU countries did not even imagine that within the European Union there would be a coordinated process of market opening. And one of the, if I may provide you with an evidence, look at the Maastricht Treaty and the fate of the energy chapter being negotiated during the negotiation of the Maastricht Treaty. So this is where we started in this Maastricht area in early 90s. And to add the Czech perspective, the Czech Republic was not even a member country of the European Union, and there were few state-controlled, vertically integrated energy companies being in charge of almost anything. And there was no competition at all. The second pillar, or the second aspect I would like to focus on, is the EU as a guarantor of energy security. In the early 90s, the European countries, during the Maastricht negotiations, they did already have some experience with using the European Union or the European Community as an international organization, providing them with some level of energy security. Already in response to the Six-Day War, the European Union and the subsequent oil embargo imposed by some Arab countries, the European Union did already impose in 1968 an obligation to maintain some oil reserves. However, this was the only moment when the European Union did step into the energy sector. What did we know? We knew that the EU law does apply even in the energy sector. We all know Costa versus NL. However, it was all. The EU countries didn't want to do any fundamental changes of their energy sector and to let EU law affect their energy markets. The Czech Republic perspective, the Czech Republic was created in 1993, and few years ago, the Czech Republic was, the Czechoslovakia was one of the countries within the Russian sphere of influence, and hence all energy, most of the energy supplies were of the Russian origin, and the Czech Republic did want to achieve, to some extent, some energy, reduce its dependency. And something very remarkable happened in 1996. You can see that the Czech Republic did decide to sign a contract, a long-term contract with the Norwegian energy gas company Statoil. And I would like to underline that the contract was not, the price of this Norwegian gas was more expensive. Czech Republic did pay much more for Norwegian gas than for the Russian gas, but the Czech Republic or the company could afford it because it was controlled by the state. So the economic perspective was not the only perspective taken into consideration by this energy company, and this is something we may view as a negative consequence of market liberalization and the privatization of everything, because since then any Czech energy company dealing with natural gas was prioritizing the price of the natural gas, and therefore we have ended up where we found ourselves in February 2020. And the third pillar, the EU tackling climate change, well, this is very remarkable. If you realize that one would say that Maastricht was 3 decades ago, or 3 decades ago, in the same year, when the Maastricht was signed, there was not even the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro, and there was no UNFCCC. This is something very even unthinkable for me, that there were times, or I was born when this fundamental climate change-related treaty was not yet concluded. So, as you can see, a lot of things were to be done by the European Union when it comes to climate change, when it comes to market liberalization, and when it comes to ensuring energy security of the European Union. These are the 3 pillars I would like to focus on and provide you with the Czech perspective after going through this quite lengthy and complicated, not easy at all process of implementation of EU law. One important remark regarding Article 194, as you can see, finally in 2009 the European Union became fully equipped when it comes to competence. The Lisbon Treaty did provide the European Union with the explicit with an explicit competence in the area of energy. As you can see, the European Union was empowered to get engaged in functioning of the energy market, energy supply of the European Union, security of energy supply in the European Union, energy efficiency and renewable forms of energy, and promotion of interconnection in the energy of the energy networks. So one would say it's definitely a good start or a significant boost for the European Union to achieve all the objectives. Until 2009, the European Union had to use other competences, indirect competences related to internal market or competition or environment. So now, since the Lisbon Treaty entered into force, it was much more easier for the European Union to pursue its energy-related policy. So now let me look from the 2023 perspective of the Czech Republic, to what extent we have succeeded and to what extent Czech Republic may view all this development worthy or not. In 2023, there were 59 gas suppliers available in the Czech Republic and 111 electricity suppliers available. So this is ideal. These are ideal numbers from the market liberalization perspective, and you can choose almost every 3 days during a year another electricity supplier, literally. So from this perspective, market liberalization in the Czech Republic was very successful, and it led to significantly lower prices of electricity and natural gas. And this is something we should very much appreciate. Very interesting comment regards the picture you can see, Czech power company Bohemia, the latest price crisis casualty. At some moments, the liberalization pushed, or the market mechanisms led the company to have very aggressive price policy. Companies were purchasing electricity in the spot markets, and they didn't secure any long-term contracts. And it led that to the crisis or collapse of this Czech company, Bohemia Energy. It was an independent company having around 1 million customers. But when the crisis started, already in summer 2021, the company being very much reliant on spot prices and benefiting from these spot prices and low price of electricity, was not able to fulfill its contractual obligations towards its final consumers and customers, and they found themselves without electricity and gas provider in 2021. So this is, I would say, overcooked market liberalization, or one of the negative impacts when everything is driven by market mechanisms and everything is driven by profits and low prices. Sometimes it may be worthy to pay some additional price for energy security, and this is one of the lessons we have learned last year. The second interesting aspect of market liberalization I would like to mention relates to privatization, because there's no market liberalization without privatization. And here you can see only 2 companies in which the Czech Republic did kept its control over. ČEPS, this is the electricity TSO. It would make absolute sense to take control over the energy infrastructure provider or operator. And ČEZ. This is, however, when it comes to ČEZ, the Czech Republic is owner of 70% of the company. The rest is owned by minority shareholders. ČEZ is engaged in generation, distribution, or almost any activities you can imagine. Of course, when I'm talking about ČEZ, I mean ČEZ Group, all the unbundling related requirements ČEZ as a company was required to comply with. What is interesting that the Czech Republic did keep its control over, and 100% control over electricity TSO. No one was ever able to explain me why the Czech Republic didn't do the same with natural gas TSO. It has been fully privatized, and now in the middle of the energy crisis, a very important provider or operator of energy infrastructure, now the company Net4Gas, is owned by Allianz Infrastructure, Luxembourg 50%, and Borlas Novus parent Dutch company 50%. Quite interesting. And then now that there is a new debate about to what extent the privatization was successful, and whether we should reconsider, as the France did when it comes to, for instance, EDF, what should be controlled by the government and which companies should not. Energy security, Czech Republic heavily benefited from the European energy security related policy and law, especially Czech Republic was affected by both crises in 2006 and 2009. For the European Union, it was a very uncomfortable wake-up call in 2006, realizing that due to the enlargement of in 2004, a lot of countries being almost 100% reliant on Russian natural gas may be energy security problem for the whole European Union, and therefore the European Union adopted several regulations, with the last one, SOS regulation, significantly strengthening the European energy security and providing EU member states with very important concepts, including energy solidarity. And from this perspective, the Czech Republic, without joining the European Union, would never be such resilient as it is right now as a contracting party, member state of the European Union. And to give you some evidence with the worthiness of being member states of the European Union, and about belief of the Czech Republic that energy policy measures adopted at the EU level should prevail over measures adopted at the national level. Czech presidency of the Council of the European Union in 2020, in the middle of the energy crisis, and even quite Eurosceptic country as the Czech Republic is, most of the measures regarding energy crisis 2020 were addressed at the EU level. And I think the European Union did navigate itself with a lot of difficulties relatively well, and appeared as a quite reliable guarantor of energy security. When it comes to decarbonization, I will be very brief. The Czech Republic, in my opinion, without being a member country of the European Union, would never be such ambitious. Czech politicians do like complaining about the European Union, but at the end of the day, decarbonization and climate change-related measures are implemented with a lot of delays. A lot of infringement proceedings are required. A lot of as I said, a lot of rhetorical complaints made by Czech politicians regarding the Brussels policy and Brussels dictate regarding decarbonization. But at the end of the day, Czech Republic does relatively well and does significantly benefit from a lot of concepts being implemented at the EU level, such as the EU ETS or effort sharing decision of the European Union. Two last slides are related to future challenges. The energy we knew during the Maastricht is different energy landscape than we found ourselves right now in, and completely different energy landscape in 2050. And the European Union has very bold and very ambitious plan to transform the whole energy market and also the energy sector. And a lot of measures have already been implemented in order to achieve and to be able to pursue the energy transition, including clean energy for all Europeans package or measures negotiated under the Fit for 55 package. I would like to tell Maria, do not worry, because even the Czech Republic was not able to implement all measures and regulations, primarily directives, adopted under the Clean Energy for All Europeans package. And there are already infringement proceedings. So Czech Republic is not very successful, so Serbia is not alone. And however, I would like to say that another benefit of the Czech Republic being a member state of the European Union is that it's engaged in a lot of initiatives, such as Initiative for Coal Regions, because the Czech Republic is a very much coal-reliant country, having huge energy coal regions. Future challenges, hopefully they are going to be addressed accordingly by both the Czech Republic and the European Union. And my very slide regards, once again, Article 194. I would like to say that the European Union, in my opinion, and also from the Czech Republic perspective, did function very well when it comes to these three dimensions: energy liberalization, energy security, and decarbonization. And I would like to point out the last paragraph of this article. Such measures shall not affect the member state's right to determine the conditions for exploiting its energy resources, its choice between different energy sources, and the general structure of its energy supply. This is the energy sovereignty emphasized and kept in hands of EU member states. There is no consensus among EU member states on the scope of the competence in energy matters to be transferred to the European Union, and therefore, although we do rely very much on the European Union, and significant amount of work has been done by the European Union does have to some extent tied hands because of this provision of Article 194. And I would like to remind you, we Europeans were very much disappointed with the accessibility of the European Union during the COVID-19 crisis. And I kept emphasizing, you can expect action to be delivered or to be taken by the by any international organization when you take into consideration the amount of powers you have provided this international organization with. So we should realize to what extent we want to be the key drivers of the energy transition, or we want the European Union to do for us the energy transition and all these energy security and liberalization elements. If we bet on the European Union, I think this measure or this phrase or this last paragraph of Article 194 should be maybe reconsidered to allow the European Union to be more to be more effective and efficient. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that lorem ipsum. This is very embarrassing because I was thinking maybe this is. I was thinking maybe it's in Hungarian language, but I realized very soon, and I was not able to change it. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure.